That name is so familiar. That has, referred to me to the Iyengar yoga.
Oh, yes. But I am not very good at yoga.
Okay.
Itu yuk.
So we are still waiting for another speaker, Andreas?
At least 2 or 3 more, Ibu Kartini.
3 more to come. But we can start also while the other, can join later, no?
Yeah.
You want us to wait?
I am at the discretion of the co-host, Pak Andreas.
Okay. You are the dirigista, so you will just wait for that.
Yes.
Waalaikumsalam, Pak Iskak. Oh, Pak Ishak dari IAIN Bone ya. Selamat pagi Pak Johannes, apa kabar? Bu Mas Nuah, apa kabar? Hello Pak Irman, good morning. Pak Sumardi, good morning.
Di sini deh.
Pak Kris Rotin Sulu, good morning.
Ada titik 3 di sini. Maaf Pak, coba dibuka dulu Q&A ini Pak.
Oke.
Coba buka Q&A-nya.
Nggak ada. Oh, partisipan kali benar.
Selamat pagi Pak Johannes. Nanti aja, Mbak.
Saya siapin aja.
Sudah saya ngomong. Morning, Pak Faldo. Morning, Pak Basir. Pak Robertus, selamat pagi. Bu Joyce, selamat pagi. Pak Nazarudin, selamat pagi. Oh, Universitas dari Kendari, Aliu Leo. Bu Yusri, selamat pagi. Wah, ini hebat ini Andreas, dari daerah timur banyak sekali. Selamat pagi, Bu Yusri. Ini betul-betul dikuasai timur kita ini, pagi ini. Oh, dari Diponegoro, Bu Ita, selamat pagi. Pak Afsil, Pak Marto, selamat pagi ini dari Poso. Ada yang dari Undip, Semarang. Dari No Mansion, Erika Pardedi. Stefanus, selamat pagi. Halo, selamat pagi Pak Arif.
Maybe we should start. Pak
Please.
Aryo is on the way. I think he will join soon. Can you?
Selamat pagi Pak Arif.
Can you hear me? all the panelists?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you open your your face? We need to see your face. Please, Laura, Ruth, and Hilda.
Hi.
Hi. This is very nice. So we can recognize each other here.
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Hi. Afternoon.
Good morning from Indonesia, and also good afternoon from in Australia, Papua New Guinea, and as well good evening to my colleague in US. Good evening. I think it's very late night here at the moment, but we would like to, it's a big honor for us to have you guys here to be as a speaker for the third webinar of Maritime with the topic of livelihood and marine conservation. I would like to give a hand to Pak Matt for some brief introduction about what is going on from the first, the second, then we are coming up with the third session. Please, Matt.
Thank you, Andreas. And good morning, selamat pagi to everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So my name is Matt, not Bayu, as it shows on your screen. Somehow I managed to sign in as somebody else. I'm not even sure how I did that, but there you go. So I have the privilege of working in a few different countries, and Indonesia is one of them, and a really important one. And we have developed a really strong partnership. Normally, I travel to Indonesia several times a year, and I really value the time I spend there and the discussions I have with my friends and colleagues. But this year, it hasn't been possible because of the travel restrictions that I think all of us have faced. And so about 6 weeks or so ago, Andreas sent me a message and said, well, we need to do things a little bit differently at the moment. What do you think about the idea of joining together and holding a webinar series where we can essentially continue some of the conversations that we've been having, but just do it collectively online and with a big audience. So I thought that was a great idea. So we were very enthusiastic about it, and so very shortly afterwards we ran the first one, which was about how to think about the blue economy in a COVID or a post-COVID world. And that we had a set of speakers who gave us some really thought-provoking presentations. And for me, I think the conclusions were still first, health is our #1 priority, and we need to make sure that we all look after each other and do our best to get through the pandemic as best we can. But also, as part of that, we also had conversations about the blue economy in the broader economy, and about the ecosystems, and noting that people are a part of the economy, but people are also part of the ecosystems. But one of the big differences is that the economy is there to serve the people, and the ecosystems we're part of and we use, but if we don't use them in the right way, then essentially we won't be able to get the benefits that we can get from them. So it was really about thinking through some of the limits to our use and how best to use those ecosystems as we move forward and perhaps start thinking and acting differently. We then, a few weeks later, had a conversation about blue carbon as part of a sustainable blue economy. And that really focused more on those subset of ecosystems, mostly dominated by plants, which have a particular characteristic that they're really good at capturing and storing carbon. So they give us a little bit of hope of, a way that we can use them to combat climate change, but also thinking about them in the way that the other values, the other benefits that we can get. For example, we use those ecosystems as fish nurseries. We get a lot of benefit from the fish that we catch from those systems, and I think we'll hear about that again today. And also in terms of reducing the risk that we face from disasters like storms and tsunamis. So again, a really good conversation, some of it about the science, some of it about the policy, and then some of it about the economics. And at the end of it, again, talking with Andreas, together we thought the logical extension to that was to think about the livelihoods, thinking about the people and how we fit in and how we take some of those ideas and how we move forward. So we're really excited to hear some of that today. Some of the thinking that we have is that really partly it's about making sure no one's left behind, but as part of making sure no one's left behind, we need to think very carefully about what equity means, about the equality of opportunity that we provide to everyone, not just to some groups of people. And so, opportunities for different groups of any identity to use and reap the benefits in the same way that many do already. So that's enough from me. I'm really looking forward to hearing from all the speakers today. It looks like a really wonderful lineup and some really deep experience. So I'll hand back over to you, Andreas, and thank you to all the speakers for agreeing to join us.
Thank you, Matt, for give a brief introduction about our sequence about the meeting. Now, I think I would like to also share some. Can I share the slide?
Jam 11 kali.
Okay. So this is what I would like to introduce to all of you. That as Matt mentioned already, that our meeting today will be discussed about livelihood and marine conservation. Is something has to be linked each other. So we are hoping that this short discussion today, this morning, this evening, and this afternoon could give us an outlook for the governance and how women can be empowered to improve the effectiveness of the marine conservation for our coastal community livelihood. So in order to achieve this kind of objective, we try to think about how it could be linked to the SDGs number 1, number 2, number 4, number 5, and also number 14. So this is a good combination of the livelihood in the marine or the coastal ecosystem in general. So for here, we have very excellent speakers this morning, and they are coming from different institutions with have different background. And then we are hoping that also they could give us some information about how their experience from the field and as well from the policymakers in order to combine to hand in hand with the livelihood and marine conservation in their own activities. And without further ado, I think I would like to give the to Pak Tony Wage as the moderator of this webinar series. Pak Tony is he's the executive director for RCCTF. He has a long history experience about working in the environment, in the oceanography, on fisheries. He holds a PhD from the University of British Columbia in Canada some time ago. I think maybe more than 20 years ago, Pak Tony. And he also he's the project manager for Arafura Timur Sea Action Ecosystem Action, or ATSI, and also he has experience working under UNDP for over 8 years. And yeah, he have I think he has growing up in the ocean. So I would like to give the opportunity to Pak Tony to handle the session this morning. Please, Pak Tony.
All right. So thank you very much, Pa Andre, for the nice introduction, and I hope you can hear me with my voice. And well, it's very nice to see you all, panelists, esteemed panelists, and of course, you know, hundreds, if not 1,000 maybe of other people, audience joining from Zoom and YouTube. So yes, as Matt and Andreas also alluded a little bit about the purpose of this session, this webinar. I was also asked by Andreas just a few days ago to moderate, which I think this is a very good opportunity. Just a little bit of a revision of the list of the panelists. As you know, you see on the flyers that there would be Pa Aryo, and Andreas, you were saying that Pa Aryo, the Director General, is coming. But we will not, regrettably, we will not be able to have Her Excellency Inger Anderson. She is the Executive Director from UNEP, as you see in the flyers. So she will not be able to join. But as Andreas was saying earlier, we have also other panelists from TNC Group. Laura, nice to see you. Ms. Konia from Papua New Guinea, and Ms. Leonata, I think she's from Indonesia. So I will introduce with a great detail about the panelists, the speakers. But this is not my platform. This is all will be yours. But allow me to just introduce the topic. I think why we are getting to this very broad and wide topic of livelihood and marine conservation. Of course, this is a very interesting topic, but I have to admit this is very big, wide. You can see that from many angles. But fortunately for us, we have this variety of speakers, of panelists. We have experts. Later we'll be joining by policymakers, practitioners, and if I may say, you know, we, as you could see also, we will be seeing more of the gender aspect that, of course, we'll be hearing from these esteemed speakers. And that is one angle that we can have if we want to talk about livelihood and marine conservation. You could see this as a two, side of one coin. Livelihood, of course, we want to make sure that we can sustain, we can take benefit, advantage of the marine resources that we have. We all care very much. But ladies and gentlemen, we know during this pandemic, this very difficult situation, what can you do? We need to make sure that the market is available, is open, access, so, and awareness, of course, because once you open it up for extraction of the resources, sometimes you will do that in very unsustainable manner. So, how can you balance these things? And a very interesting angle is to look at from the gender's perspective. So, well, from my side, I will stop here and then give the opportunity, more time to the speakers, panelists to present their presentations. And if you don't mind, I will read a little bit or brief introduction about who will be the speaker. And I will first ask Ibu Kartini to be the first speakers, and Ibu Nurmala Kartini Panjaitan Syahrir, known as Dr. Kartini Syahrir, is the Indonesian representative to the advisory board of ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation. And Ibu Nurmala Kartini Panjaitan was born in North Sumatra in 1950 and earned a doctoral degree in anthropology from the Boston University back in Massachusetts in 1990. She served as an ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay from 2010 to 2014, and was awarded the Order of De Mayo El Maritime El Grande Cruz from the government of Argentina back in 2014. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Ibu Duta Besar. So she served, has been more than 5 years as the advisor for climate change of the Indonesia Coordinating Ministry of Marine Affairs and Investment for the Republic of Indonesia. And Ibu Kartini, as I know her personally, Ibu, you are very active in women's rights movement and environment activities in Indonesia, organizing and involving in many events, national and international forums. So without further ado, I would like to give the first opportunity for Ibu Kartini to present some of her thoughts about the issue that we are talking here with under the theme of livelihood and marine conservation. To Ibu Kartini, time is yours.
Thank you very much, Pak Tony. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, especially for the panelists. And it's a great honor for me to be here talking about livelihood and marine conservation. And when talking about livelihood, for us, you have to talk about women. When you talk about women, you have to talk about local wisdom. And when you talk about women local wisdom, we talk about food security. But beforehand, allow me to start first with geographical condition of Indonesia as the largest archipelago country in the world. Please. You see from this, my presentations about Indonesia, that 74% covers by the sea. Then we are the country with 265 million population. And there are about 131.9 million are women, and 30% of them live in coastal area. Then you see the rest that we have. We are the largest coral reef mangroves. We are the second largest coastline in the world. You know, that's why we said our country is the largest archipelago country in the world. Next, please. Talking about women. Yeah. It's very important, and for me, since I study about women for almost 44 years, you see, it's still my passion to see how much that we already work for women. Yeah, there is a lot of, there is a lot of progress. But still, when we talk about women, there is also a lot of political factors playing with it. But let me talk about a little bit about from the first point. That's clear. I think we all agree that plays major roles for food and nutrition securities. We talk nutrition securities now since we have the COVID. Okay. So to boost our immune system, we need, enough nutrition. Yeah, and women has to play for that, because for so long, women and nutrition is like coin with two sides. Women are responsible to make sure that their children, that the member of the family in the household have enough nutrition. And that demand is even more right now during the COVID period. Okay, so you see, then you can read it, that in the coastal area that they're doing fishing, they have to take care of mangrove and seagrass meadow because it's ensured for food security for the people, for the family, for the community. And it's also as well as doing, activity at what we call as a warung, local traditional shop. So when doing this, how do they get their knowledge? They have lack of access, lack of access to facilities, formal facilities, either from the government or stakeholders, you name it. And they learn it from generation to generation, from their parents, their grandparents, how to manage to get food, how to manage the surrounding, how to manage the natural resources that are available around them. So to ensure that the family have enough food and that food is nutritious enough for the member of the family. Then the third point, you see that the food security is the pillar for communities' prosperity. Of course, yes. Yeah. Then if you have enough in your stomach, then it makes you more peaceful. It avoids, conflict in the family, and in turns conflict in the community, and then in a wider society. Please next.
Nggak bisa.
Please next. Okay, there are some examples, and you see that I show you the pictures here, the way that the women work, They assist their husband to release the fish, they catching crabs around mangrove forests, they catch oyster, yeah. And also when they catch oyster, you see that's how simple it is for them. And you see they have no facilities, no supporting system, anything. They just do it simple, simply because they need it and want to help their husband, their surrounding, and to ensure that they have enough food to bring home. Next. Next, please. Okay, then we see the local wisdom management. Maybe you ask, what is that? Yeah. You can see the point 2, for example, yeah. Is local wisdom management is the way the communities do their social economic activities based on the lesson learned from generation to generation. This is what they inherit from their mom, from their grandmother, for their surrounding. Yeah, and they store it into their mind, into their brain. What is very also interesting, and we all knew it for a long time, that when women, wherever they are, including in the coastal area, they play major roles in economic activities. And then when they do it, it is embedded into the household tax. What is the consequence of it? The consequence of it is all the women activities, no matter how important, no matter how much the energy that they pour into it, it is always, never account into the formal job, because it's embedded in the household tasks. You know that. So that women never receive, any salary when they do the job, do fishing activities, because it is part of the household task. But that's different when the husband do it. The husband is entitled for the formal facilities available for them, whether it is loan, whether it is education, whether it is training, but it's not for women. And that's therefore that women and local wisdom, it's like a coin with two sides. They integrated each other. They support each other. They help each other. It's the local wisdom and the local knowledge where the women refer to, instead of talking about technological innovation, because that is something remote from their life. Yeah. If they understand about marine conservation, it's like how taking care of mangrove, how to take care of seagrass meadow, it is because of the local wisdom. No more, no less. Okay, next, please. Okay, I give you, it's more interesting to see is how they contribute to generate income for the family. You know, the picture speaks more than when I talk to you. Okay, while also they still have time canoeing with their children. You can imagine how strong the woman is. Next. Next, please. Okay, that's another one, you know, how women, you know, use and utilize the mangroves for creativity, for doing batik, for example, and for doing what it is called, and it's very popular right now, is the, what is that? The tourism, ecotourism, the so-called, through the mangrove. You can see the picture there. I was there, yeah. And now you can see also meeting with women, also not only talking and discussing about mangrove, but we also talking about sexual harassment that is very high, you know, in the village along the coastal area. And I can talk further later on. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, then we can see that facts finding about women and food security. Yeah, then I quoted here that 70% of the world's poorest society are women. And it's then poverty is recognized as identical with women. Sometimes, you know, I remember years ago, there is a phrase saying that feminization of poverty. Probably this such phrase is very suitable, especially for women in the coastal area. Yeah. So women always as a victim. Yes, it is. Yeah. There is a lot of progress, but there's a lot of, you know, also setback. It's all sometimes, yeah, to a certain extent, depend how much the government really take care of women and understand about women and can see from the perspective of gender. So therefore, that empower women is an ongoing process. That's why I said it's very much highly political. Yeah. It's also for the women themselves, you know, to give power for women, for example, to change their mentality as always being in the peripheral, you know, always feel that they are powerless, always feel that they have act as a submissive instead of knowing that they are agent of change. It is not easy, I must say, because it needs and support. It needs it needs the support from all stakeholders, from all society, and the women need to empower themselves to understand what is their right and what is their obligation. The fact that it's also admit, you know, even at the UNFCCC meeting, yeah, I attend so many times, what is it, the meeting in Bonn, Germany, every year. And then there's also a Paris Agreement and SDGs target. And it's already 5 years. Then we have the same talk and talk and talk that women less access to technology, education, training, access to finance, access to health. Come on. Yeah. If I compare to 44 years ago, more or less the same. Okay, I give you another pictures. That's very interesting, I believe. Yeah. So the way that women work, you see that they have an ecotourism now in North Sumatra, and they build by themselves, then using their own money for that. You can imagine, yeah, how hard they work, yeah, and how much do they believe about by taking care of the surrounding, by taking care of natural resources, taking care of the mangrove, it will be a benefit for them. Next, please. Okay, I come to the conclusion now. Yeah, yes, women is a vulnerable group. Yeah, yes, women must have active roles in ensuring food and nutrition security. Yeah, because we need to have harmonious life, harmonious communication in our own social surrounding. It's very nice to say that, but it's very difficult when we have to do it in the field. Yeah. You all, I think, agree with what I mentioned here, yeah, that we have to support for capacity building, we have to help women participate for food security activities, that they have to gain access to finance, health, education, vocational schools, safety nets, you name it, okay? And then about sexual harassment. This is something very important, especially in a coastal area, because when they do fishing, they usually coming back, yeah, when it's late afternoon, it's already dark, and they become a subject of sexual harassment there. Yeah. By the time I remember in the coastal, in the northern part of Java, Central Java, then we strongly advised to the local government at the time, even to the central government, I mentioned it at the time, that to put some electricity, to install electricity at the area where the women always, go through when they do fishing activities. There's a lot of mangrove trees there, and it's so dark. Yeah. So that's try to get a solution of that. Okay, next, please. Okay, the second conclusion that you have, that's government, again and again, the government, especially in developing countries. I don't know the experience of those who live in developed countries, but in Indonesia, for example, the role of the government is very important. The government, okay, in developing countries, which determine whether they are an oppressive tool or they are that supportive tool on women. One has to remember about that. Yeah, we have no illusion. Without the government, whether it is on the central level, down to local level, they has to be involved and become a strategic partner for all stakeholders who support and struggle for women empowerment. Again, I emphasize here, yeah, the importance of women participation in economic life. It's depend upon local wisdom and local knowledge. And of course, we do hope that we still preserve the local wisdom and local knowledge and can integrate it into technological innovation in improving marine conservation and livelihood that give women, more energy to give them to optimize themselves to be, the agent of change and to be part of food security. Next, please. I think I'm almost done. Okay, let me add a little bit about COVID, just briefly about women here. So there's the first part. Terima kasih, thank you. Okay. Can you please show me it's about the COVID?
Ibu Kartini, this is Tony again. I hope this is not going to be taking a long time.
Oh, sorry. Then if it is, that's my part is finished, it's fine. I just want to show you about this. Only one word, if you give me 1 minute, to
1
talk
minute.
about.
You get it.
1 minute. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, never happened in the history of Indonesia or in history of us during COVID that happened is the household institution becomes so important when there is a tagline stating work from home. Household institution is the domain, domestic domain, that is domain for women. But since the COVID tagline working for home, it makes the public domain. We expect it should be that by putting household institution becomes so important, domestic and public at once, then to empower women, it should be optimized, not to make it women as the victim because the husband joined the household and the husband do the domestic violence against women. That is the key, the word key that I'm going to let you know. In the patriarchal society, never happened in our history that household institutions so important. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Ibu Kartini, I think you nailed that, at the very end, because that is very relevant to our situation right now with the COVID-19 pandemic. And yeah, it sounds to me, it seems to me, the burden is becoming more and more, not just, of course, women, but also all of us. But okay.
Thank you.
Keeping with the time, I would like to move now to the second panelist, and I would like to invite Dr. Radhika Iyengar. I hope I pronounce your last name correctly. I will read a little bit of your biography. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Radhika Iyengar is the Director of Education at Center for Sustainable Development at the Columbia University in the United States. She received a distinction from Teachers College, Columbia University. Previously, she was working in an India-based non-profit organization called Pratham, the largest educational movement in India. Her research interests include evaluation of education programs and international education development. She has also presented her dissertation at various conferences, including the Comparative International Education Society, and was awarded the New Scholars Fellowship Comparative International Education Society for 2010. She has also collaborated with researchers from Imperial College in London, University of Columbia, Berkeley to design and implement a pivotal randomized experiment study on the impact of health intervention on cognitive and other educational outcomes of preschoolers in India. So, Dr. Iyengar, I know time is very late in the global world in your place, but I would like to remind you for the 15-minute presentation, if you could stick with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Radhika Iyengar, time is yours, Dr. Iyengar.
Thank you so much, sir. I think this is wonderful to be talking to everyone online using technology. And thank you, Andreas, and thank you, Matt, for suggesting this series of webinars, because I think this is really a great platform to be engaging with discussion, especially when we can't, travel. I also want to congratulate Andreas and Matt to think about when you started, Andreas, when you started your presentation, you were talking about quality of education and gender. And then Ibu Kartini also followed with the gender women link. I and my presentation is also touching on both of them. So very, very critical. And thank you for laying the stage for my presentation, because I feel that quality of education, especially SDG 4 as well as gender SDG 5, are critical in moving forward to make sure that we achieve the sustainable development goals overall, and they become the foundation for meeting all the rest of the SDGs. Instead of talking a lot, maybe I have a short clip that I wanted to present. This presentation is from India, and I just wanted to show this particular presentation because it touches all the points that we have been discussing so far in terms of livelihood, gender, education, and sustainable development. So maybe we can take a short clip and then just my commentary at the end.
Sure.
There is no sound.
Yeah,
though.
it's coming. Just have to bear with the signal, the speed of the internet. Is there any audio there, Andreas?
This is, let me check.
Can you help with that?
Maybe, can you?
We can see the video, but we cannot hear anything.
Let me try to share. Saya coba share ya.
Yeah.
Share my screen and see if we can get the audio here.
So, Dr. Iyengar, do you want to say something while
Let
Andreas is
me
there?
check
Oh,
here.
you want to...
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, that works.
मेरा नाम अमुदा है। हमारे घर पे 4 जन है, मैं 2 लड़की है। बस मैं जाती हूँ सेंटर माँ सत्य सेवक सेंटर में काम करती हूँ 7 साल से। अलग अलग बैग्स बनाते, जूट बैग, कॉटन बैग सब बना लेते हैं।
Mahashakti Seva Kendra is located very close to the Union Carbide gas factory. Many of us cannot forget the night of December 3rd, 1984, where this very same location was filled with dead bodies due to a poisonous gas leak. Many of us still suffer from health ailments. Mahashakti's aim is to ensure that its members are skilled in making eco-friendly products and are able to earn a decent living. Radhika Iyengar is the Director of Education at the Center for Sustainable Development, Earth Institute, Columbia University.
While they're able to read, they might not be able to comprehend that.
She, along with her team of researchers, works in multiple sub-Saharan countries and South Asia on sustainable development issues. Dr. Iyengar is closely associated with MSK to create awareness on environmental damages caused by human action.
मौसम में कुछ चेंजेस हो रहे हैं या नहीं, या कुछ भी अब ठंडी लगती है, सर्दी ऊपर पड़ नहीं रही है, और गर्मियों में क्या हो रहा है, गर्मी ज्यादा होती जा रही है और सर्दियां कम होती जा रही है। तो ये सब चीजें क्यों हो रही हैं, आपको क्या लग रहा है, कैसा क्यों मतलब परिवर्तन आता जा रहा है?
एक पेड़ काट रहे हैं तो उसमें 2 पेड़ लगाए तो उसका बैलेंस बने, पर वो काम नहीं कर रहे हैं और काटे जा रहे हैं, देते जा रहे हैं। प्रकृति से अपन दोहन कर रहे हैं, बाकी उसको अपन दे नहीं रहे हैं।
प्लास्टिक यूज नहीं करना चाहिए, प्लास्टिक से भी ज्यादा प्रदूषण फैलता है, आग लगाते हैं तो वो पूरी नष्ट नहीं होती। ये जो है ना रीसेंट न्यूज, आप अगर स्क्रीन पे देखो तो वहाँ एक डेड व्हेल मिली। व्हेल सबसे बड़ी मछली होती है ना समुद्र में, सबसे बड़ी मछली होती है, उसके पेट में क्या क्या मिला? प्लास्टिक की बोतल। हाँ, 115 प्लास्टिक के कप्स मिले, फिर 25 प्लास्टिक बैग्स मिले, 4 प्लास्टिक की बोतल मिली और 2 ऐसे प्लास्टिक की चप्पल मिली।
पहले एक रिसर्च में ये आया था कि अपने मल में भी प्लास्टिक के कण पाए गए।
प्लास्टिक पहले तो प्लास्टिक का यूज ही नहीं करना चाहिए।
The sessions resulted in actions that we can take ourselves to make our planet green. Amuda has stopped using plastic utensils and now completely avoids using polybags.
पहले मेरे को पता नहीं है प्लास्टिक यूज करने से बीमारियां बढ़ते हैं। बड़ी दीदी आके बता के गए थे ऐसे ही प्लास्टिक यूज करने से बीमारियां हो रहे, इसलिए मैंने प्लास्टिक हटा के और स्टील की डब्बा में सामान रखती हूँ। ये बैग हमारे सेंटर में बनता है, ऐसे ही इसीलिए बनता है। हम लोग ऐसे पन्नी यूज नहीं करना चाहिए। मैं सब्जी लेने के लिए जाएंगे तो ये बैग लेके जाती हूँ। ऐसे ही अलग अलग सब्जी अलग अलग जेब में रख सकते हैं इसमें। जैसे सब्जी वाला से भी मैं लड़ाई करती हूँ। जैसे वो बोलता है पन्नी लेके जाओ, पन्नी से दे रही हूँ बांध के, मैं बिल्कुल मना कर देती हूँ। पन्नी से बीमारी होता है, इसलिए मैं ये वाला बैग लेके जाती हूँ, सब्जी लेके आती हूँ।
We now consider ourselves to be environment ambassadors and take things into our own hands to ensure that our Mother Nature is clean and green.
Say no to plastic.
Thank you. I thought that this movie clip is from my hometown in Bhopal, India, and since we have a travel ban, I'm missing my country and my hometown very much. So I thought this would be a good opportunity for us to, talk about Bhopal and its issues. I think there are a lot of similarities between what you are proposing as panelists in, from Ibukatu's presentation. I saw that similar profiles of women taking the lead, doing a lot of work with hand, doing a lot of training and technology training related work. Whereas it is very similar to what this organization is doing. So my role as an education person, it was to inform people about, or groups about plastic pollution. And it was so I don't think we need the presentation, because I think we have done most of the points, covered most of the points in the clip. So 3 things I just wanted to highlight. One is community awareness, so use of science and use of scientific facts to promote education for sustainable development, so that everyone really knows and understands what the issue is, what is the plastic problem, how we can avoid it, how we should stop tampering with our environment a lot. And then again, we are in this COVID-19 situation because of loss of biodiversity and a lot of other factors that have culminated into this pandemic. So one thing was very clear, that using your outreach mechanism and using education as the medium to reach out to masses is very, very important. The second thing I wanted to mention was this greening of vocational training programs. We should have green vocational training programs, meaning like these ladies were making bags and eco bags. So we should make sure that technical and vocational training programs move towards more eco-friendly technical and vocational training programs. And there is a lot of appetite for it. There is a lot of demand for it in the market. And also going with the women angle, I thought that it's very important to ensure that our women are trained very well, because in this case, with this particular NGO, many women have just graduated grade 5 or not even that, but still they are very eager to learn about plastic pollution. They are still very eager to learn about how do they make eco-friendly bags. So greening of greening of TVETs, technical and vocational training programs, I think is a key towards driving success in terms of economic freedom for women, as well as the environment conservation part, which is really, really important, as we know. And the third important part which I wanted to highlight was linking these TVETs, technical and vocational training programs, and NGOs with the larger education, with the larger government policies, and how can the state and the city government support this particular initiative. Again, going back to Ibukartini's message that government role is very important, and I cannot more agree with this statement. How can the government utilize these particular small non-profits and make them join other cooperatives or make it a much bigger movement is something that the government needs to be doing. Otherwise, what happens is there are all these nice initiatives that sprout out here and there, but they do not get enough support, and then they die out, and leaving the women back to being impoverished and back to being very they don't have a decent living. So how can the government make sure that they really work with these technical and vocational training programs, non-profits, at a systemic level, include them in the policy measures, and manage to expand and scale up these particular initiatives, maybe linking it to various outlets, the programs that they have, or manage, or maybe have these eco outlets, or use ecotourism as a way of ensuring that the women get continuous employment. And here is a non-profit which actually works on employment, plus is also spreading this eco-friendly products that they have. Cotton and other things that India makes, I think, is one good example of a India local made product. And of course, the underlying principle that we all need to understand here is how can education be the foundation to make sure that we tell everyone about the environmental challenges that our countries are facing, and how we can use our voices, especially women's voices, because women, as we know, are the are strong enough to hold the entire community and their own families. When they say something, of course, the family members, including the children, listen to them. So now, as you could see in Amuda's family, she stopped using plastic, and her children are also not using plastic at all. Her kitchen is all no plastic is used. So how can we make sure that we have more eco ambassadors like Amuda, and can make a wave of those eco ambassadors in our countries? So just wanted to highlight these aspects. And one final concluding fact is that we should make sure that education for sustainable development becomes the foundation for all the sustainable development goals, including environment, including gender, including education itself, so that we use education as a lever to promote environmental messages. And that can also promote economy, as we have seen with this particular non-profits work. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Engar, for a very, very nice presentation, and also the video clip. I think that links very well with the topics or the points that Ibu Kartini was showing earlier. You stressed strongly about the importance of the education, which is one of the very, very important key. So, and again, I would like to ask for a big applause, but this is the way that we do the webinar. I am very sure that the audience, right audience, you will give a big hand to Ibu Kartini first, and then to Ibu Engar. But we have to move on now. I'm happy to introduce my good friend, Dr. Aryo Hanggono. Good morning, Pak Aryo. We are now being surrounded by very nice ladies here. So not a very often situation that we have now. We're being surrounded by these ladies, very smart and talented ladies. So like I did to the previous speakers, I would like to just introduce Pak Aryo, which actually doesn't need more introduction, but anyway, I'll do that. Pak Aryo Anggono, PhD. He is a Director General of Marine Spatial Planning at the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries of Indonesia. He also served as the Executive Secretary of the NCC Coral Triangle Initiative, CFF, in Indonesia, from the Indonesian side. He graduated and got his PhD degree at the Université de Paris-Nanterre, France, back in 1998. And between 2015 and 2019, he served as the expert staff to the Minister of Marine Affairs and Fisheries on marine ecology and resources. And throughout almost 20 years of his career, he has the manager roles, focuses on research development with special emphasis on assessment and application in spatial planning and marine fisheries technology. So, Pak Aryo, this is an opportunity for actually all of us to hear from the government of Indonesia side on how are we going to deal with the issue regarding the livelihood and marine conservation. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor or the opportunity to Pak Aryo. So Pak Dirjen, time is yours.
Thank you, Pak Tony. Good morning, everyone. I may introduce the Indonesia Marine Protected Area Policy. So please share the slide for us. So Indonesia is well known as the archipelagic state. It consists of more than 17,000 islands.
Can we then the next slide, please?
Please, yeah. And it only 10.59% populated. The rest is unpopulated. Is more than 14,000 islands. And the big islands, it only 64. The Papua, Kalimantan, etc. Next, please. Next slide. The small outer island, we have a program to to keep
Pak Aryo.
Yep.
Enggak, Pak.
Okay.
Okay, Pak Aryo, please go ahead.
So the small outer island program is for security and defense. It is acceleration of the process of settlement of national border at the sea. The second function is placement of defense posts, security posts, yeah. Placement Indonesia Army and Police, placement of building of state symbols and or sign of national border, placement of navigation aids and development maritime potential. But also small outer islands is developed to enhance the community welfare, including the marine and fisheries business, marine ecotourism, research and education, subsistence agriculture, placement of socio-economic facilities and infrastructure, and maritime services industry. So in terms of the environmental management, the small outer islands is as a partial or wholly protected area. Yeah, we establish as an MPA, as a conservation area, with the objective to protect the coastal area of the small outer island. And then we do some maritime conservation, marine protected area, and a coastal buffer zone. It is just to protect the small island. The goal of small outer island management, next slide, please. Maintaining the integrity of the Unitary Republic of Indonesia, national security, and national defense, and creating regional stability. Second is utilizing natural resources in the framework of sustainable development. And third is empower the community in order to improve welfare. So since 2017, Directorate of Marine Spatial Planning has made effort to structuring the small outer islands through the certificate of land rights on behalf of the Republic of Indonesia government through Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries. One option is designated as a marine protected area. Next slide, please. So under the law number 27, 2007, Junto Law number 1, 2014, we identify the characteristic of coastal and small island community. By definition, first is indigenous people, a group of coastal community which for generation have lived in particular geographic because they are bound by a root ancestor and has a strong bond with the coastal and small island resources with the existence of value system which determine the economic, politic, and social and legal institution. The second group of local communities is a group of people which practice daily living based on custom which have been accepted as public value, however, not depending entirely on particular coastal and small island resources. And the third community is a traditional community, including the traditional fisheries community whose traditional rights in fishing activity or any legitimate rights are still recognized in particular area within the archipelagic waters in accordance with international law of the sea. On the right, we have some criteria of the coastal and small island community. Next slide, please. In Indonesia, we also know the local wisdom, which we may divide into two kinds of the local wisdom, terrestrial local wisdom and marine coastal local wisdom. Some example on the marine coastal local wisdom, we have the Panglima Laut in Aceh, Sedekah Laut, Sasi, Awik-Awik in Lombok, Sero, Mani'i, etc. in Maluku. Next, please. This is the local wisdom concept. Yeah. So at least we have 4 kinds of the local wisdom concept for the conservation, their belief, using the fishing gears, and the surveillance. So like in conservation, we have the Sasi, mostly in eastern of Indonesia, Kera-kera, Wehai, Ombo, Ngam, Egek, Lubuk, Larangan in Sumatera, etc. And their belief in Sedekah Laut, Rawah Segare, Petik Laut, Muangjong, Larung Sesaji. But in environmental friendly fishing gears, they have the Sero and Kelong. While in the surveillance, we have the Panglima Laut and Awik-Awik. Next slide, please. This is the Indonesia MPA current condition. Yeah. We committed to achieve the global mandate in 2030. We already achieved the AG target 10%. Yeah. And today is already 15.7% of Indonesia's sea territorial defined as the MPA. And in 2030, we do hope that we can get 32.5 million hectares Indonesian waters as the marine protected area. We have 197 MPA in March 2020. That's the current condition. Okay, this is strategy to achieve the target in 2020. So we would like to develop the new MPA, harmonize and provide the MPA regulation and guidelines, improve the facility and infrastructure of MPA, enhance the capacity and quality of MPA human resources, design the sustainability financing mechanism for MPA. I think the financial aspect is very important. Then we try to empower the community develop the marine ecotourism and sustainable fisheries within MPA, and active in regional and international cooperation regarding the MPA management. We expect that the implementing of MPA strategic plan, at least on biophysics, we hope we can improve in fish biomass and biodiversity, increase in fish stock and population, diversity of species are maintained. In terms of governance, we would like to reduce the rate of destructive fishing, to utilize of natural resources in accordance with the provisions, and then to get the involvement of local community or coastal community, and the MPA management run effectively. In terms of socio-economic cultural, we do hope that we can increase in community participation, socio-culture value are maintained, the creation of alternative livelihood, increase the economic income, improve gender equality, particularly in women involving. I think this is topic discussion of today. The MPA program and policy supporting in women involvement and coastal livelihood. So the MPA can serve the coastal livelihood, and also we get a room for the women involvement. So women must involved in entire MPA activity. At least 30% of participants are women. Establish Women Conservation Forum, name Women Leader Forum in CTICFF. Develop alternative livelihood for women employee, fish production and marine ecotourism. Develop safeguard in terms of food security. Next slide, please. For coastal community livelihood, research and education for in the core zone, yeah, or no-take zone, and then a rehabilitation and protection. Yeah. But in limited use zone, we may develop the marine ecotourism, yeah, and sustainable fisheries zone. So in this area, it is only limited fisheries operation. The only the vessel less than 30 gross ton allowed to operate in this area. Use environmental friendly fishing gear and environmental friendly aquaculture. Government grant in order to empower the local community group in small outer island. We a lot like to improve the economic based on community need in small outer island, yeah, by providing the jukung, you know, the small boat, outboard engine, fishing gear, chest freezer, cool boxes, life jacket, diving equipment, and gear-based transport vessel. So it is dedicated in the community in coastal and small outer island. This is an example of infrastructure we developed in small outer islands, yeah, the jetty in Toli-Toli in Bengkalis, for example. Bengkalis in eastern Sumatra, yeah, Toli-Toli in northern Sulawesi. And this is the distribution of government grants in coastal and small outer island in Indonesia. And then as a conclusion, Indonesia is committed to achieve national and global target to preserve 10% of marine area of marine area as MPA. The government has developed a strategic plan to achieve the marine conservation target and manage MPA effectively. The benefit of MPA able to improve the condition of biophysics, governance, socio-economic and cultural. Women constantly involved in MPA program and activities, and MPA designed to provide access for local coastal community and improve their livelihood. I think that's all, Pak Tony. Thank you very much for this occasion. I cannot follow to the end of the webinar, so my director, Pak Andi and Pak Yusuf, will stay in this webinar. Thank you very much, Pak Tony.
Thank you so much, Pak Aryo, for the presentation, and likewise, I think a big applause from the participants. And thank you again, Pa Aryo, for providing this very comprehensive information. So now to the panelists, please hold on. We still have one more panelist or presentations, but also to the participants. I know you're eager to ask so many questions, so please be patient. So the last speaker actually will be coming in package. So three people. So I would like to invite here, actually in the flyers you see Miss Laura Whitford. Hi Laura, so nice to see you again. I met Laura a long time ago when we were dealing with the Coral Triangle Initiative, the city I work, more than 10 years ago. But also, I think, Laura, you will also lead and introduce two other members of the TNC program. But if you don't mind, I will just read some of the information with regard to the TNC team here. So first of all, is yourself, Laura. Laura Whitford is the Director of Marine Strategies and Partnership for the Nature Conservancy Asia Pacific Program, and has been working in international environment and climate change issues for over than 15 years. She, as I mentioned, she leads the TNC engagement with 6 countries in the Coral Triangle initiatives for coral reef, fisheries, and food security. She is very passionate about intersection of women's empowerment, natural resources management, sustainable economic issues. She holds a graduate degree in environment and development, communication management, and psychology, and is currently based in Melbourne, Australia. And if I may, Laura, I would just read the short biography of the two other members from the TNC group. First is Miss Ruth Konia. Miss Ruth Konia comes from Papua New Guinea, to be exact, from Madang province. I think Madang, yeah, right. And in 2011, she has, or since 2011, she has been working with the TNC Papua New Guinea, initially as Director of Communications. And as of recently, she is overseeing a program called Mangoro Market Merry. You will explain to us what's Mangoro Market Merry program through and with women groups in Milne Bay and Manus provinces. So this is, of course, about the natural resources management, mangrove for ecotourism, identify markets, and so on. So Ruth, or Miss Konia, is currently volunteer for the Global Green Grants Fund, the Pacific Island. She is married with 6 children, and in her spare time, Ruth likes to spend quality time with the family. And the last team from TNC is Miss Hilda Leonata. I believe Hilda is the TNC from Indonesia, and for over 15 years, she has been working in the social entrepreneurship, environmental conservation, climate change, gender, livelihood. So many sort of like a background and experience. She is currently the Ocean Program Manager of YKAN, the Nature Conservancy in Indonesia, monitoring, implementation, development of foresight in Eastern Indonesia. She holds a master's degree in natural resources management from Bandung Institute of Technology with a research focus on valuation, ecosystem service, and renewable energy, and had 1-year tenure at the Kanazawa University in Japan. So, ladies and gentlemen, panelists, we have the TNC team, and well, I would like to get Laura to maybe lead the presentation from the TNC team, but I would like to remind you for the strict time. Hopefully you can make it in 15 minutes because we have so many questions that, you know, hopefully we can engage with the participants. So Laura, the time is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Patoni, and it's very nice to see you again. Let me just share my screen so I can show you the presentation that we have. Okay, can everybody?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, perfect. So yeah, thank you again for having us. It's a real pleasure to be here and to be on a panel together with such esteemed other panelists, and we really appreciate the opportunity. As per the very kind introduction, we're going to talk a little bit about TNC and YECAN's work in relation to women's empowerment, community livelihoods and marine conservation. And I'm really pleased to be doing that today together with my wonderful colleagues, Ruth and Hilda. So I thought I might start out just by giving a quick introduction to TNC, or the Nature Conservancy, for anybody who may not be familiar with us. We're an international conservation organisation. We work in over 70 countries around the world. We are a science-based organisation, so we have about 4,000 staff in total, and about 600 of whom are scientists. And we have been active for about 70 years now, so since 1951. And there you can just see on the slide a few of the figures to kind of summarise some of our achievements over the last 70 years. TNC very much works in a collaboration and partnership approach. And so we have two primary objectives. One is around supporting healthy oceans, land and freshwater. And the other one is around climate change adaptation and mitigation. So as I mentioned, we use a really science-based, pragmatic and partnership-focused approach, and we work with a really diverse range of partners. So be it government at various levels, local communities, Indigenous peoples, businesses, and also research institutions of various types. Here, I just wanted to quickly give you a sense of TNC's footprint in Asia Pacific, where we have had strong and locally driven programs, both marine and terrestrial, for over 30 years. So we work on a range of issues and approaches in this area, ranging from community-based conservation, so working together with Indigenous peoples and local communities, marine spatial planning to balance competing uses, mangrove restoration and blue carbon, as well as sustainable fisheries and forest management. And one thing I just really wanted to emphasize before handing over to my colleagues is that throughout all of this work, TNC has a really strong emphasis on advancing equity. So to ensure that people aren't left out of the benefits of this kind of work around climate change and conservation. But at the same time, as we're working to ensure that people can benefit from that, we also want to make sure that they are able to generate an income at the same time, because we know that unless we can support people in sustainable livelihoods and income generation, it's very difficult to make a case for sustainable resource management over the long term. And so it's really at the intersection of those issues, so around equity and livelihoods, that we wanted to provide you with a couple of case studies today that my colleagues are going to talk about. So with that, I'll hand over to them. So first we're going to hear from Ruth Konia, who is from Papua New Guinea, as Patoni mentioned, and she's the program manager for the Mangrove Market Mary program. And after that, we're going to hear from Hilda Leonata, who's going to talk about some of TNC Indonesia or YECAN's work in regard to women in Raja Ampat. So thank you, and I'll hand over to Ruth.
Andreas, can you help Ibu Ruth? I think we still cannot hear her with the audio.
Maybe it's on mute. I think it's okay.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. So yes, now I can hear you. Go ahead, Ruth.
Right. Thank you, Laura, and thank you, organizers of this very important webinar. I will be talking to you about the Mangrove Market Mary. Mangrove in Tok Pisin, which is our like a national language that we speak here is simply meant mangrove, and Mary for woman. So it's about linking women to markets around mangrove conservation. All right, let me just start, just give a brief overview on why we wanted to start up the Mangrove Market Mary program. As part of the TNC gender strategy, the Nature Conservancy in all our effort believe that men and women have different experiences in terms of working with uh, uh, natural resources and in terms of utilizing them as well. So we very much like to encourage women's participation in conservation in the work that we do back in our communities. So whilst we wanted to do that, we encourage women as much as possible to come out and be able to make decisions on natural resource management, while at the same time we empower women around looking after their environment. Laura, next, please. Next slide. Right. It all started, the Mangrove Market Mary all started way back in 2017 when TNC actually organized a workshop. And we brought in participants from institutions like the universities, from the main key government sectors, from other supporting partner non-government organizations, and from women leaders in our communities as well. So we identified the need that we need a mangrove policy. I mean, the reason why we wanted to initially work around mangroves is because most of our mothers actually spend a lot of their time in the mangroves, collecting firewood as fuel wood for cooking. They get shells and crabs and other little things that they gather for food as well as for selling at the markets, of which the income usually goes back to the community in terms of supporting the family. So we talked about that a lot. So we wanted to do something to help our women back in the community. So when we had the workshop, we looked at the need for a national mangrove policy that can support what we wanted to do with the women in promoting the role of women in designing and implementing natural resource management around mangrove use. Next, please, Laura. And that actually led to another event that TNC organized where we brought together women from a number of countries in the Pacific as well as Northern Territory in Australia, where we went to an event called the Nature's Leading Women in Brisbane, where we gathered there. We talked about what we really needed to do back home and support our women. And at that time, the idea of the Mangrove Market Mary was conceived. And that was when we came about as part of the PNG team. We wanted to come back and start up something for our mothers back home. So that was when we talked about the Mangrove Market Mary idea. Next, Laura. Yes. So Mangrove Market Mary is all about understanding the challenges faced by women who are doing mangrove conservation. And by doing so, we realized that most times our mothers spend a lot of time catching the crabs. And when they go to the market, they sit there for the whole day and they come back home with very little or nothing at all, because whatever little they can get from the sales of the crabs and the fish and other things that they get from mangroves, they end up paying for IPMV, PMV fares coming back to the villages, and they buy very basic things that they need for the family. And at the end of the day, they don't have anything else that they keep or save for future. So we talked about that. So we wanted to help them link this to financial benefits through market and through other ventures such as ecotourism and potential carbon markets. Laura, next, please. So in PNG, we have partnered with a number of groups that wanted to work with us. So we have worked with women groups, and given the fact that most of these women groups are locally based and do not have access to like banks and other institutions that they can have money to start what they're doing and support what they're already doing in the community. So some of the things that we have been doing with our women over the last 2 years is actually helping them to register themselves with what we call here Tourism Promotion Authority and Investment Promotion Authority. So we can actually establish those women groups. And apart from doing conservation, they can also support themselves in economic incentives as well and other capacity building avenues. So we've worked with a women group from all over one of our province in Manas, and we've also worked with women groups in Milne Bay, which is also one of our provinces that we work with, and a tour operating company and also in Milne Bay, which is owned by a woman. And we have also worked with marginalized groups of people, a disabled group. So we're trying to encourage marginalized people to actually take part in what we are doing as well. Next, please. And the objective of the Mangrove Market Mary program is threefold. So one is to support sustainable livelihood option, linking it to economic benefits. This is to do with currently what the women are doing, like getting their mud crabs and selling them, apart from other goods that they can obtain from the mangroves. We're also, the other objectives is linking conservation to nature-based tourism. And the third objectives is linking mangrove conservation to blue carbon. So these are the three objectives that we're looking at, and we're currently working with our women on. Laura, next.
Next, please. Yeah.
Yes. So, we cannot do these things alone. So we have actually been partnering and working with the government of PNG, especially Conservation Environment Protection Authority, Climate Change Development Authority, and National Forest Authority. We've also been working and discussing with the University of Papua New Guinea, especially around exploring the options of blue carbon. The Milne Bay provincial government, the Manus provincial government, with CSIRO, especially also around exploring the options of blue carbon. And we have had a lot of support from the Australian government through DFAT, who's been supporting our program in the last couple of years, and also working with other NGOs to share experiences, share lessons, and help each other in capacity building. And I must say that I actually admired what Dr. Katina presented earlier on during the introduction of the presentation on what the women are doing back in Indonesia, some of the great lessons that we should learn from as well, since we're new and we're starting up. And I actually admired some of the conservation efforts, especially the work around mangroves. So thank you for sharing those great lessons, Dr. Katina. I think I've come to the end of what I'm presenting, Laura. Is that right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I think that's right. Thanks, Ruth. That's wonderful. And with that, I will hand over to Hilda, if I can get the slide to advance. Oh.
And again, Laura, can you ask Hilda to make it short?
Sure.
Yes.
Thanks, Hilda. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the slide to go.
Okay, while waiting for Laura, I am Hilda Leonata. I am based in Jakarta. As Laura has mentioned, that we have 4 sites in the far east of Indonesia. And we have offices in Kupang, Wakatobi, Berau, and also Raja Ampat. And I am going to take you, all the participants, to go to the farthest island of Indonesia in Raja Ampat. And so please, Laura, the video.
Did you want to show the video, Hilda, or should we send around the link for that?
The video, please. It is only a 2 minutes video, so yeah. And as Pak Aryo mentioned earlier in his speech, we are endorsing local wisdom to be implemented in Papua, in our place of work. Also, just like Ibu Kartini said earlier in her speech, it is important to recognize local wisdom and women's in terms when you are talking about marine and livelihood.
Is the video coming?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it to share. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yep. Can you start from the earlier, from the first louder? Yeah. Yes, thank you. To the slides, please, Laura. Yeah, so you just saw how SASI practice is working there in Papua,
Laura,
and it's been going
running
on
of the time, I think
since
we have to stop here for the session for TNC. Is that okay? We have seen this video. I think it speaks 1,000 words. So can we move on to the discussion now? I've been reminded by
Sure.
yeah. Just any last word from you, just to wrap up your part.
Sure. Yeah, and thank you again for the opportunity to present, and particularly to Ruth and Hilda for their inputs, and we can make sure to send around the PowerPoint so that everybody has the information. So,
Right.
yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much to the TNC team. So now, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed panelists, so we have seen, we have heard presentations from these panelists, experts. We saw pictures and examples, right, from at least 3 different countries, from India, from Indonesia, from Papua New Guinea, and they're all centered in the issue of gender. And well, like my wife always say, like, you know, if we want to educate women, we also have to educate men, right? So especially like Ibu Kartini said, like in this patriarchal society, that has to go equal. But anyway, so I hope we are not talking about that, about the men's side, but how are we going to talk about improve this livelihood while keeping, you know, the marine resources intact? You know, you can get benefit out of it. So there are hundreds of questions right now to panelists. So this is what I'm going to do. I have been provided by the host list of questions. So if I don't mind, we will be taking questions, especially Matt, you asked the audience to send the questions, and it's been put together by Andreas. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read the got from Andreas, and if I may, I will and a little bit to Pa Aryo. So panelists, please go ahead if you want to take that question later, but you know, I will and sort of like, this is the question to you. Observation, much of Indonesian government, and of course this is also to Pa Aryo, right? Mostly local level, programs on women, particularly coastal women empowerment, have not shown much progress unless the programs are collaborated with international NGOs. I know that, or we know that. It seems that with international collaborations, time length to impose the programs are or were usually more lengthy. Hence, the result is more probable to be success. Why is that? Do you think we can improve this? To Ibu Kartini, please, if you can take this one, and we would like to hear your comment.
Maybe the KKP should answer it, please.
Or the KKP first. Okay. Maybe Pa Aryo left already, right? So Pa Andi or Pa Yunus, are you still there? No? Okay. Well, do you want to provide any short comment, Ibu Kartini, first?
Yeah. I think, you know, as I mentioned before, need the attention and understanding about what is the gender perspective is all about. You know, before we are talking about gender action plan, kind like that, you see. And it's been a long time that is happening, you see, that the attention, no matter what, it is autocritic for all of us, you see, including myself, for example. It's that we know that the women in the coastal area, they suffer a lot. Why we don't do much on that? And we are capable of doing it. Why don't we do allocate for this? For example, the national budget, okay, for the poor people, for the activity of the poor people in the coastal area is only 2%. Okay. And the agriculture is 20% and the trading is 40%. If it is only 2%, you know, given in the for the coastal, for the communities in the coastal area, can you imagine how much it is for women? Maybe nothing. I hope I'm wrong. But it is an autocritic for us. Thank you.
All right. So that's sort of like a provide a general sort of outlook or comment. I would like to go to Ibu Radhika, Dr. Iyengar. I know I'm so sorry because I know time is so late in your part, but there's a question actually for you. So the question is like this. What is the concrete strategy to convince local communities that in the conservation areas, I'm reading this, especially marine conservation areas, that area can provide greater benefits for the local communities? Because in the video you mentioned, or you showed the local communities, they are working on the plastic, stop plastics, but and you underline the importance of education. But how can you convince that this will work? Please, Dr. Inger. Andreas.
I think Dr. Inger already, she said it's already over around midnight there. So
she left already.
Yeah, she apologized, but she will try to answer the question. She has the note for all of the question from the participants. Try to find a way how to answer the question. But yeah, it's already midnight in the US at the moment.
Oh, well, I did not know that she left already. So I was just reading the question provided to me. Okay, well, we move on then to maybe the TNC team. There is another very interesting question here. And maybe you can take this as a group. So in your presentation, you showed us some of the success stories, the area you have been working. So how would you engage the youth? And in this case, the younger people in the community, especially in this era of, you have the technology, the information's going so fast, but also at the same time, you have this recent situation, I hope with this pandemic, and hope it'll go away soon. But engagement of the young people to make sure that conservation's livelihood, and especially if you want to focus down on the women part, the young girls and women in the communities. Any thought from you, Laura, and the TNC team, please?
Yeah, I mean, I might just quickly say that, TNC generally has a really strong focus on participatory processes. And so making sure that processes create a platform to engage a really diverse range of people, regardless of gender or age or physical ability or what have you. So, they're designed in such a way as to maximize that. But I might turn over to Ruth or Hilda if you have kind of more specific thoughts on engagement of youth in particular.
Yes, with our work back in our communities, we realize that youths are the future leaders of in any area that we work in. Mm-hmm. They'll be the ones who will be driving conservation when their parents are gone. Mm-hmm. So in all our activities, even before we go in and start working with communities, we normally do focus group discussions. So we divide people up into different ranges. Youths separate from men separate from women. Mm-hmm. So we gather their views on what they think, how best they can work in the community. So right from the start, their ideas, their thoughts are captured. Mm-hmm. And we design activities in a way that that is inclusive of everybody in the community, the marginalized, the women, the men, and the youths as well. So in terms of the mangrove work that we are doing, we need the youths to carry the bamboos. We need the youths to actually go into the densely populated mangrove to collect the seedlings and other samples that we need to actually carry the tape when we do the forest inventory and stuff like that. So more or less we engage the youths in many different ways that that we're working with, apart from men. And I appreciate the comment that you made on what your wife said about educating men as well. Because a couple of communities couple of communities that we work with, it's matrilineal society, the fact that the women are the resource owners. So, but we've come to realize that actually it's only by word of mouth that the women are the resource owners, but the men take precedence in terms of determining how the resources should be used and managed. So we've come to realize that as we were working with the women. So what we are doing is actually getting through the women to go to their husbands to actually bring in their husbands as well. So it's not only the women that we're working with. Women take the forefront of what we are doing, but behind the scene, we're also listening to the men and taking their thoughts into consideration as we go along in our project. So different groups of people are very important to what we are doing. We're considering everyone as well. Even the marginalized, we bring them in and we engage them with activities that they're able to do. Like we have some disabled in the community where we get them to sit down and they weave the traditional poly bags that we can put the mangrove seedlings in. So we try to keep everyone as busy as possible. So yeah, I mean, you asked me about youths, but I'm actually answering the men as well as the other groups as well. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Tony.
All right. Good. I'm reading questions here. So I would like to go back to Ibu Kartini because it seems like we are the only group that are left here. I mean, the TNC team in Ibu Kartini. So I'm taking questions. I'm trying to combine them. And this is actually to the government. Pak Aryo already left, unfortunately, but well, some people are saying that, well, they're still not seeing a concrete program, and I'm talking to the government of Indonesia here about what are the concrete program for empowerment these women. And Ibu Kartini, I know you have lots of experience working with the government, especially, you know, not just on the practical things, but also on the policy and regulatory systems. Is there sufficient enough? Maybe the answer is no, but you know, what are the efforts that we are doing at Menko, Mar, Invest, Ministry, and maybe others? Please, if you want to take this question, Ibu Kartini.
Yes, thank you, Pak Tony. The fact that we have the Ministry of Women Empowerment, it shows already how much that we pay attention on women. Yeah.
Right.
Never forget that. Maybe Indonesia is the only one who has the Ministry for Women Affairs and for Children. Yeah, we are very serious about that. The fact that it is still not enough, yes. But compared to other countries, even developed country, Indonesia is really serious about that. Regarding the Ministry of Maritime and Investment, for the last 5 years, I think they worked very hard on that. The way that I would not be here, you know, and talking, and the ministry would not take this livelihood and women as their focus of attention if they don't care about that. They do. And again, it's not enough. I traveling all over Indonesia. I go to the Central Java coastal area, and I can see by myself how much that the women work, and we collaborate and communicate with them, yeah, closely, yeah, to see what we can do for them. So if one said, yeah, it's still not enough, they cannot see, I can understand, because to me, they are very enthusiastic, they read positively, they want to see some changes. But let us go together and do whatever we can do. Like when somebody talk about SASI, okay, that's a local knowledge, local tradition, you know, the way that they manage resources, how to practice it, you know, to ensure that the fish is there, to ensure that they can, you know, use the natural resources as best as possible, profitable for both sides. Yeah, that's something that the local government should support. Yeah. So I think there is just a lot of things still to do, but one thing, yeah, that the government pay a lot of attention on that, including the Ministry of Women Empowerment and Children, you know, and especially that we are lucky to have that the Ministry of Maritime and Investment really care about this. The plastic debris, about, you know, talking about the local knowledge, local tradition. We have the division there in our ministry. Yeah. It says before we don't have it, but now we do have it, and we are very lucky and honored, you know, that we like to integrate that's what we call as an technological innovation, but at the same time we preserve the local knowledge.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Kartini. Guys, Pak Andre, Pak Matt, how are we doing with time? Can I?
Yeah, I think it's already exactly on the time, but maybe one question if you have.
Yeah, and I'm just reading from the list question. This is going to be a very good questions. Well, to the TNC team, Laura, we have seen not just from you guys, but also from the other panelists about the success stories, right? But I know you may have encountered obstacles, difficulties, lots maybe of them. Can you or maybe one of your team share some of the obstacles? Because what I'm reading here from the comments and questions, like people, groups, government, NGOs, they are doing this in so many different places.
Di link nggak ada di WA.
They also have facing these difficulties, right? Obstacles. And maybe you can share some of them and how would you solve that if you may, please.
Sure. I can give one thought and then I might hand over to my colleagues. I mean, I feel like one obstacle that we do encounter is sometimes this idea that, you know, a focus on equity and a focus on being more inclusive really is done just for the benefit of that particular group. And so if you're trying to be more inclusive of women, for example, that we're only doing that because it benefits women. And actually there's a ton of evidence to tell us that by more equitably engaging women, it not just benefits the women, but it also benefits the whole community, and it also benefits the impact and the sustainability of the sorts of sustainable resource management interventions that we're focused on. So in that sense, it's a bit of a mindset, I would say, that we encounter sometimes. And yeah, just I think really highlights the need to emphasize you know, the real imperative to do this because it makes for better resource management, not just because it's a good thing to do, although it is a good thing to do. So with that, I might see, Hilda or Ruth, did you have anything?
Yeah, sure. Sure, Laura. I need to echo what Laura just said earlier. So yeah, it's about the mindset, and also we need a champion, women champion, in initiating and spearheading the initiative, because that is exactly what happened with the SASI practice in Papua. When we give rights for the women to manage an area of SASI and they are able to manage the area well, the benefit is not only for the members of the group, which are women, but the monetary profit is actually dedicated as a social safety net on the village. So it's not for the prosperity for the women's or the family only, but also for the whole village. If one children in that village needs to go to the higher educations and there is no money from their family, then the group support it. Or if the church needs renovations, then the group support it. So you can see that investing on women in making them able to access the resources are actually profiting the whole community and escalating the welfare of the whole village. Thank you, Laura. Ruth, probably you can add more.
Yes, I have just one point to make. One of the sort of an hindrance that we face here with our work is gender-based violence. I would say that gender-based violence is not only about, infringing on human rights, but also an hindrance to conservation, because one of the challenges that we are facing right now with Mangrove Market Mary is trying to gather all the women as much as possible in communities to come and attend what we are doing, especially mangrove restoration training and other capacity building training for women and stuff like that. Because in our Melanesian society, women are reckoned as second class, and men are the bosses of the house. So the women are usually tasked to do domestic chores like taking care of the kids, looking after the gardens, and especially looking after the pigs, which contributes a lot to the wealth of the family. So, getting them out of their domestic chores to come and do something which is a little bit new for them is a challenge for us as well as the local women themselves. So, at the end of the day, we have to get the buy-in from the husbands, the brothers, and the male counterpart to actually let those women come and attend what we are trying to do. And we, most instances, we get these women for the first or the second trainings, but we don't see them for the rest of the year. And we go back and ask, what's happening? Why didn't the women come attend our training? We go back and ask, and most of them would say, oh, the husbands won't let them come, and, it all obviously leads to violence at home and stuff like that. So these are some of the challenges that we face, and as much as possible during our, community entry processes that we are doing with our new communities, we're actually trying to work through the men as well to get their buy-in, so they allow their women to come and participate in doing conservation efforts, because both men and women are just as important as the other, because they have different knowledge about utilizing the environment. So we look at those aspects as well. Yeah, this would be one of the challenges that we face.
Absolutely. We definitely agree with that. Thank you so much. So, well, I think this is going to be the final sort of like a word from you, from the panelists. I would like to thank you, all of you, our panelists who are here and who already left, and of course to the audience, to the participants. My apology, I cannot take all the questions. There are hundreds of them, literally hundreds of them. Very good questions. We are trying to take some of them with good response and answers from the panelists. But I'm sure we learned something from this session, and this is our hope, I believe, right, Andreas, Matt, that this session can not just educate us and provide information, but also can bring us a lesson learned in whatever things that we are doing directly dealing with women or conservation or whatnot. So again, from my side, I would like to thank all the panelists once again. I believe all the audience participants are giving you a big hand right now, but also to the audience and participants for staying during the sessions. Almost or about exactly 2 hours already, and I hope they will be this will be enriching. Questions about the link of the presentations, Pa Andreas. I'm seeing a lot of people asking about the presentation materials. Some of them already in communication certificates. I think you can ask Pa Andreas because he is and Pa Matt. Okay, so apology of any misspelling of your names, but I am happy to be part of this. I am now returning this to Pa Andreas and Pa Matt. Thank you.
Let's give applause to Pak Tony and our speaker. Thank you, Pak Tony, for sharing this very interesting topic this morning. And thank you to our speakers for give us the very important information and sharing the knowledge about how we could able to link different of what we call it SDGs, something like that, to conserve our ecosystem for better livelihood. Especially in this part, we try to link with the how is the importance of the woman as the center of the conservation and livelihood in Indonesia or in the other part of the world, something like that. And without further ado, I think we would like to close today's webinar. Again, these are the link for the material, and as well for the certificate also can be downloaded through this link. But since not all of the material are available in this link, we are hoping by this afternoon or tomorrow morning we could able to upload it, all of the material from all the speaker into this link. Thank you again for our speaker, for Pak Tony, for the moderator, for the audience. We are hoping to see you again in the next session, the fourth of the webinar between Indonesia and Australia, and hoping we are still keep health in this kind of condition and keep a high spirit. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, speakers.
Thank you so much,
Pak Tony.
everyone.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you for the panelists. We learn a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Kartini.
Thank you so much. See you again.
Terima kasih, Bu.
Makasih Andreas. Saya leave sekarang ya.
Yuk.
Makasih.
Ya.